In the early hours of October 24, 2024, U.S. Marshals arrested Lil Durk in Broward County, Florida while trying to flee the country. Lil Durk, the rapper who once sang about enduring struggles all his life, now faces the real possibility of living the rest of his life behind bars. They had him under investigation for over 2.5 years, with one of his OTF members even wearing a wire. If convicted, he faces a minimum of 30 years or a maximum of the death penalty.
I can feel the feds coming on. I can hear the feds coming on. I know my brody, they ain't said nothing. Man, I hope that ain't the feds coming. No, feds at the door, then I'm dead running. Get as low, I'm trying to dance something.
Way back in 2020, King Von, Durk's close friend and fellow OTF member, was fatally shot in Atlanta, leaving a scar in Lil Durk's life that the internet seemed determined to keep open. Following Von's death, the calls for vengeance on Durk's part grew louder, taunting him to slide for Von. From this point forward, the pressure from the streets never stopped, one that Durk himself referred to in his song Ah Ah, capturing the intensity of the public expectation. Durk cap, he ain't slide for Von, yeah his ass silly. Y'all cap, we slid for real, we just don't mention shit, we busy. Don't respond to shit with Von, I'm like fuck it, you trippin', go get your gun. This eventually evolved from an online taunt into a call to action, one that Durk could never quite shake for years even though he denied it in public. Then, in August of 2022, violence erupted in Los Angeles. Quando Rondo, the rapper linked to King Von's death, was ambushed in broad daylight. The shots didn't reach Rondo himself, but instead struck his cousin, Lil Pab. When Von was killed in a shooting outside of Atlanta nightclub in November of 2020, the loss struck at the heart of Chicago's hip-hop community and it hit Durk hard, leaving him at a crossroad. This wasn't just personal, it was public, and fans, along with the internet at large, made sure he never forgot that. They demanded something that only street justice could seem to satisfy. Following King Von's death, all of this began to settle over Lil Durk. Von was family, and as he grieved, the internet seized on his pain, pushing a relentless demand: slide for Von.
They be saying slide for Von. I think they trolling me. Yo, by the way, them songs is fire, I ain't gonna lie. You be seeing them comments a lot?
The phrase flew through comment sections, social media, and hip-hop forums. What started as an online taunt evolved into something that Durk couldn't escape, as fans questioned his loyalty and painted him as someone who might be soft for not responding. For 2 years, this call to slide followed him, with every public appearance and social media post reminding him of the challenge he now had yet to answer. And by mid-2020, Durk found himself in a position where the silence no longer felt like an option. On August 19, 2022, Quando Rondo would find himself targeted in a violent ambush near the upscale Beverly Center in West Hollywood, a location far from the usual sites of hip-hop feuds, but close to the heart of Los Angeles. As Rondo sat in a black Cadillac Escalade with his cousin Lil Pab, a white SUV approached. 2 men emerged, opening fire in broad daylight. Rondo managed to avoid getting shot, but the attack was fatal for Lil Pab, who was struck and succumbed to his injuries shortly after. Rondo's horror at the scene was captured in a video where he can be seen screaming in anguish as he realized the devastating outcome. Law enforcement quickly determined that Rondo was the intended target. This ambush was anything but spontaneous. Federal investigators would later disclose that the black Escalade carrying Quando Rondo had been trailed for 2 days before the attack. The shooters had followed Rondo's Escalade across several locations over those 2 days, tracking his whereabouts from a hotel to a weed dispensary and a clothing store, seemingly waiting for the right moment to strike. The attackers' preparedness pointed to a calculated effort, one that transformed the incident from a violent altercation to a suspected, orchestrated hit. For law enforcement, this incident would mark the beginning of an investigation that would ultimately stretch on for 2 years. As investigators went on, the shooting of Lil Pab became more than just a tragic misfire. Law enforcement had quietly opened an investigation shortly after the August 22 shooting. At the time, however, no one was officially linking the ambush to Lil Durk, and publicly, Lil Durk remained silent about the shooting, not even referencing it in passing. But behind the scenes, authorities began combing through the digital evidence, including cell phone records and iCloud data. It was within these messages that they allegedly found conversations between Durk and an OTF associate identified as co-conspirator number 3. In these texts, Durk reportedly instructed his associate to avoid booking any flights under any recognizable names.
Texted co-conspirator 3 saying, don't book no flights under no names involved with me.
Another message between Durk and a co-conspirator included a request to keep certain activities off the record. Durk's text, "Don't book no flights under no names with me," became a key piece of evidence. What they uncovered suggested a deliberate setup. The digital evidence wasn't just scattered messages though. This message, paired with the flight records and hotel bookings, painted a picture of serious planning. According to prosecutors, Durk's close associates had used OTF-linked credit cards to secure car rentals and one-way flights for at least 5 men, transporting them from Chicago to Los Angeles just a day before the ambush of Rondo.
Yeah, and the guy that was on the private jet with them went to go buy a ski mask for the shooters and got the guns and then paid for the hotel rooms.
Investigators didn't stop there though. Bank records revealed that hours after securing these bookings, Durk had arranged a private jet to Los Angeles himself, alongside another alleged co-conspirator known as Cuz, who would later be implicated in providing additional supplies. Surveillance and receipts from that day showed that Cuz had purchased ski masks at a local store. The authorities now had what they believed to be a blueprint of an elaborate murder for hire, transforming this investigation from a local tragedy to a federal case. The 2-day surveillance, the messages, and the meticulous planning hinted at something deeper. Rumors spread that Durk's role in the hit was larger than initially suspected, and the public's curiosity only intensified as fans started dissecting his lyrics, looking for signs of hidden intentions. In Lil Durk's track Ah Ah, he leaves little room for interpretation, stating, "They dropping locations, I'm getting it done. Fuck tweeting, we sliding. The feds are coming, I'm hanging with killers, we breaking a bond." Almost foreshadowing the very investigation that would later trace his movements. Then, in the song Federal Nightmares, Durk takes on a more paranoid tone, hinting at the risks of surveillance and betrayal. "Delete my iCloud if I think they really on me though. When trial come, it ain't your phone, it be your homie though." And in light of the recent charges, the cryptic nature of his music had become a potential self-incrimination. Prosecutors emphasized that Durk's lyrics, far from an artistic exaggeration, appeared eerily close to an outcome of the case against him. In the early hours of the day, he would learn that 5 key members of his OTF crew had already been arrested. Kayvon Vonnie Grant, DeAndre D.D. Wilson, Keith Flocka Jones, David Brown Eyes Lindsay, and Asa Boogie Houston had all been taken into custody, with each of these individuals reportedly being involved in the planning or executing aspects of the plot. On learning about this, Durk reportedly arranged multiple commercial flights, each one seemingly intended to throw off law enforcement. First, he booked a flight to Dubai. Then, as the day wore on, he reserved seats for Switzerland, each booking more rushed and desperate than the last. By late afternoon, he arranged a private jet from Fort Lauderdale to Italy, hoping this would be a discreet exit without the red flags of a commercial flight. Federal agents, however, were closely monitoring his movements. They had been gathering evidence and tracking him down for over 2 years, and now they allegedly had informants embedded in OTF as well. When he ultimately reserved a private jet bound for Italy at 9 p.m., the FBI was quick to act, receiving word of his plans by late afternoon. By 6:40 p.m. that evening, they deployed agents to intercept him before he could reach the Miami airport. The chase ended hours later when agents caught up to him en route to his final escape flight. Yet fans and defenders argued that Durk was a victim of the very internet-fueled narrative that encouraged him to seek revenge for King Von's death. They blamed the trolls and the relentless online pressure, claiming that the public had forced Durk into a corner from which he could see no escape. In the days following his arrest, with all his success, it was indeed possible that Lil Durk could have walked away from the path that led him here. As of now, the rapper remains held without bond, awaiting his transfer to California, where the charges of conspiracy to commit murder for hire hold the weight of life in prison or even worse, the death penalty.